Alright, so I'm going to teach you how to graph secant of x. It's pretty simple, as long as you know the basics for cosine of x, and we'll go over that as well. But to start, we are going to see why and how secant and cosine correlate to each other. So secant of x equals 1 over cosine of x. So since x is on the bottom here, whatever the cosine of x is, that is going to be the asymptote of secant. So, when you draw the two graphs, what I like to do is draw them one on top of the other, just like this. So, when you do finish drawing the cosine graph, you're able to just drop the asymptotes right down to the other graph. It makes it really simple, really easy. So 1 and 1, negative 1. Alright, it's going to take me a second to fill this in, but now that it has been written out completely, you have all the points. So I went by pi over 4s for this graph. So to start, we're going to graph the cosine of x. So I have a unit circle right here, so we're going to be able to use this to our advantage to make finding these points a lot easier. So we're going to start with 2 pi. So on the graph, 2 pi is located right here, and cosine is the x variable and sine is the y variable when on a graph. So anything that's in the x right here is going to be cosine, and we're going to place that right there. So 2 pi, the x in 2 pi is 1, so we'll place 1 right here, so we know that cosine of 2 pi is equal to 1. And we'll do 7 pi over 4. In this case, it is radical 2 over 2. And then next, 3 pi over 2. Go to the x right here, it's 0. 5 pi over 4, go to the x variable, it's negative radical 2 over 2. Go to pi here, the x is negative 1. We're going to go to 3 pi over 4. That's negative radical 2 over 2. Go to pi over 2, that's 0. And then pi over 4 is radical 2 over 2. And again, 2 pi and 0 are the exact same. Just couldn't fit it, so just throw that randomly down here. Okay. So, we'll plot all these points. See if we can still see it on here. Okay, I'll go like this. Perfect. Alright. So, we'll start at 0. 0, and that was like really far down. 0, x is 0, y is 1. And pi over 4, x is pi over 4, and y is root 2 over 2, which is roughly right here. Lower, but a little higher. Okay, whatever. Pi over 2 is x, and y is 0. 3 pi over 4 is x, and a negative radical 2 over 2 is y, so it's going to go right here-ish. I'm going to cover that 4 a little bit, it's okay. Then we're going to do pi is negative 1. 5 pi over 4, y is negative radical 2 over 2. 3 pi over 2 is 0. 7 pi over 4 is radical 2 over 2. And then 2 pi is 1. So we're going to connect those points, and it should come out to a pretty good wave. Just like that. And then it's all repeated over here. So I'll just fill it in real quick. Same points, just negative. Somewhere. Oh, sorry. Okay. Disregard that point. That point's wrong. There we go. Just like that. Nice and round. Alright. Bring this back now. Like I said earlier, since secant is 1 over cosine of x, wherever cosine crosses the x-axis, that is exactly where the asymptotes on the secant is going to be. So, I'm just going to grab a different color. We'll do blue. And wherever cosine of x crosses, just right here, right here, right here, and right here, which is pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. So all the pi over 2s, any kind of that, it's going to be the asymptote. So I'm just going to drop that down, do a little dotted line to show exactly where secant graph will not cross. I'll just label this 2 while I'm at it. So now we know where the asymptotes are. We're going to find where the exact middle is, the first interval in between those two. Just located right in here. So we're going to find where it is on pi, where it's on 0. So negative pi, pi, and 0. Then 2 pi and negative 2 pi. Those will be the points we're going to try and find. So we can start with 0 and bring this back. Now you're going to be doing the secant section. So one over cosine of x when it's 2 pi, so it's going to be 1 over 1, that means it equals 1. So the next one is going to be 1 over radical 2 over 2, which is going to equal 1 over radical 2 over 2, or 2 over radical 2, or just to simplify it, 2 over 2 radical 2. So that's our final right there. So next, 1 over 0 equals 0. 1 over negative radical 2 over 2, that's going to be negative 2 radical 2 over 2. 2 in there. For pi, so 1 over cosine of pi is 1 over negative 1. Just going to equal negative 1. 3, so the cosine of 3 pi over 4 is radical 2 over 2, negative. So 1 over that is going to equal negative 2 over radical 2 over 2. 1 over 0 is going to equal 0. And then 1 over the radical 2 over 2 is going to equal 2 radical 2 over 2. And then 1 over 1 is going to equal 1. So now we're going to plot these points on here. So it's pretty simple. All we had to do was find cosine. And then just put it under 1. And there you go. That's a secant. So now we'll plot all these. We'll start with 0. And that is 1. Go back to this graph. 0. Cosine of that is 1. And then we do 1 over the cosine of 0, which is 1. It's going to be 1 over 1. So there you go. Next, when we do pi over 4, which is here, it's going to be 2 radical 2 over 2. So it's going to be roughly right here. And then, since we know it's an asymptote, we're just going to go like this, and we're going to know it's going to travel